Alright, so the last time we were here, we were on a planet Earth, and we actually managed to do something like this. What we'll be doing next is we're gonna be adding some stars, but we want to create the stars before we actually create the rest of the composition and then add the lines afterwards. So what we're gonna be doing is this. If we look at it, we have star appears, and it looks a little like this. And we kind of want to just recreate this shape or this effect. Very flat style graphic. And get the whole thing to just work together. So most of the things that we're doing actually uses a lot of shapes, very simple shapes, but shapes nonetheless, to create some very simple looking effects. So we're going to do the star now. So I'm going to create a new star. So here what we're going to do. Back to new earth, and we're going to add a new shape layer again. But this time we're going to be using a polystar. And I'm just going to add a fill so you can see exactly what it is. Let me hide this layer, or simply I can just choose the solo layer so you see only one layer and then just choose white. Afterwards, we can change the polystar path and just change the amount of points we have to 4. And with this whole thing, when we're animating it, we can change the inner radius to get what we want to do, right? And we can also change the outer radius if you want to be a lot bigger, right? So I'll just undo those settings. All right, so we're going to stick with this 4-point star radius, and let's actually throw this star into a new composition. So it's going to be star appears 2, right? And just simply double click on that pre-composition to go inside the actual shape. Now what we want for this whole thing is that we want it to be nothing before, or we're going to start off with nothing moving around. So for example, if you choose the star like I said before, we actually want to animate the inner radius, right? So over a period of about a second or two, right? If we look at the shape, and let's just make sure we have the right amount of frames for this composition. We can choose composition settings, and we have 4 seconds and 2 frames. And that is fine, but I want it to be more than that. I want it to be 20 seconds long. And just press OK. So first things first, we're going to set our inner radius to 0 and hit that button there, that time vary stopwatch. And what we want to do is over a period of about a second or two. So this is about 1 second, this is 2 seconds. We kind of want to just go back to what it was before, which is that. So perhaps 2 seconds might be too long for that. What we just do is make it over about 1/3 a second, perhaps 21 frames, 20 frames, 22 frames, whichever. And before it goes, it's gonna go like this first, but we kind of want to just do a settle. So we want to overshoot and then settle. So that's using the principles of animation right there. It's gonna go like this, more like, right? So that looks relatively, I'm sorry, relatively slow. So that goes like so. It's gonna go faster. It's gonna go bam. But we want it also not only to look like this, but perhaps while it's coming up, right, we have the outer radius do a thing as well. So I'm going to set a keyframe here that looks like this, and then it's going to just shoot that up a bit more and return back to the original 100. So now what we have when we look at the animation is something looking like this. And what I could probably do is even lower the inner radius like so. So you get that squashy stretch feel. Or maybe even more squashy stretch. I don't like this effect. Right, so we just go with this. Bam. And just set up the outer radius to be more. Inner radius to be less. Ah, here we go. Outer radius here, more here. And so we have something looking like this. Cool. What do we need now? We actually want it to have that star or that ring coming out of it. And to do that, we're going to have to add one more shape layer. I'm going to choose add. I'm going to add an ellipse, or I could use even a rectangle again because rectangle has that roundness feature. But for now, I think because we want more flexibility, we'll stick with the rectangle and just change the rectangle path and size, something more like this, and change the roundness to something like that. And I'm also going to change one more thing with it, which perhaps I should not put inside this shape. So I'm going to create a completely different shape altogether. So right click on your blank area, new, shape layers, add, rectangle. We have two different shapes now. And for this one, we want to have not a fill, but a stroke. Right, so let's increase the roundness and also the thickness of the stroke. Right, so when it starts off, you're going to want to have no stroke. Right, so we can actually control the stroke by looking at this and changing this to 0. And then we're going to have that thing grow in terms of the width is going to stay at 0 again afterwards, but the size of the rectangle we're going to change. It's going to start off at 0, it's going to get bigger over time, but eventually it's going to fade out. Right, so it starts at stroke with 0, increase that width, something else, and eventually fade it out. But what you want to do, and one thing you want to make sure of is that it doesn't just stop like that. You want to continue going. Bam. But let's take this and press F9, and that'll make it an easy ease keyframe, and do the same for this. F9. Right, and so that's how we get that. Let's play it back and see what it looks like. Right, so that's what that looks like. What we want it to continue to do is keep pulsating over time, and very simply, that can be accomplished in the star shape, and really just the outer and inner radius, just doing a loop kind of a thing. So I can do this and just highlight these two. And paste that. Bam. We'll just take the same one here and copy it and paste it there. Right. And we just keep going and going and going and going and going. So just throw that there and throw this here, varying spots. So you have a twinkle, twinkle, little star. Right? So just copy these shapes, these frames, and just throw them in there over a period of time. Right, so this is going to continue for about and let's say that's what we have. We have that shape, and we're going to just expand this shape out some more. Right, so we have different shapes. Now there's only one more thing I want to do. What we'll probably do is even add some of this madness to it with a whole stroke bit, just so it doesn't lose its pizzazz. Every now and then you just do that thing. We're recording. Now I'm recording, so. All right, so there's that. What else? So we have the Earth. We've done Earth. We've created a star appearing like so. Right, and if you feel like you want to add a little more extra to this, we can throw an effect on there called the glow, but I won't because I can't bother. All right, let's continue. So we have new Earth. I'm sorry, Earth 2. We have a star there. We also have, oh my bad, star appears doesn't need to be here. This is Earth composition. So I'm just gonna move this star thing because we create something that's called star appear 2, and you can throw that in there. The thing about the star appearing thing though is that it's really large in terms of its composition size. So what I want to do is actually shrink down my composition size so it fits within the entire range of this. So if I look at that, that's as far as it's gonna go. That's as far as it's going to get. Now you have an option here that says region of interest. So I'm basically going to be doing this, highlighting this as my region of interest. And you can actually go to your composition option and choose to crop comp or composition to region of interest. And it just crops it to that. And with that, you can just look back at Earth 2 and you will see that there's a small little thing here, of which I can always shrink or grow depending on what I want to do. Alright, so that's Earth. That one star is there. We might just throw another star in there. Or several other stars. Maybe you want a couple of them. And you kind of want them to start at different times. So bam, bam. Another one. Right, so we have 3 stars. So bam, bam, bam. Maybe you want some more. You can always duplicate some. Right, Control D. And throw a star over here. Right? And throw them practically anywhere you want to. Control D again to move that. Move it over here perhaps. Maybe you want to adjust the size. Right? You might look at the whole composition and say, okay, this could probably work. I'll just throw in just a couple more. Which part looks sparse? Here. Probably something over here, and then the last one could be something that's right about here. Alright, so if we look at the composition in its entirety, it looks like this. Right? And that's just one part. But I'm not completely satisfied. I kind of want Earth to have more of a pop. Right? So I want Earth up here. So let's say you're telling a story, you say, okay, Earth was there, and then afterwards, some stars were there, and then the sun and the moon and all these different things. You could start creating the different elements for them, and then create the story in the composition. But for this, I want Earth to kind of appear first, and then all the stars afterwards. So we have Earth here, and you can see the time that Earth starts is right at the beginning, right? So we have this Earth spinning. So I want Earth up here after perhaps 1 second. So I'm going to move everything else behind that. Or maybe all the stars appear first and then Earth appears. Who knows? Alright, so we want Earth to start off kind of like this. Earth is going to be nothing first. So we're going to scale it down. So we're playing with S now. We have to start the scale value at 0. So it starts from nowhere. Right? And then turn on the time vary stopwatch. Boom. Earth is going to start off, it's probably going to take a whole second for it to become this big, or even smaller. And then once you have that, you kind of want, as usual, for me, I always want like an overshoot, which is kind of just making it bigger than it really is supposed to be before it settles back into 100%. So it's like, bam. You could do an overshoot and then an undershoot, or a parachute, or whatever you want to call it. So it goes, bam, right? But the last thing you want to do is just make sure it's smooth. So F9 is there as a shortcut to create the easing, right? So bam. Cool. What if Earth has an atmosphere? And Earth does have an atmosphere. So what if we want to create the atmosphere as well for Earth? We could create a shape again. So simple shape, add new layer, right? So I'm going to choose a shape layer this time. I'm going to add to it a ellipse, and I'm going to add a fill that's white, right? And choose add fill. Unfortunately, it always comes up as red. So we hit the white, and we're going to scale this up. Just looking at the properties of it, size can be made into like more than 100. And one more thing I'm going to change is the blending mode, right? So how does it look when it's overlaid on Earth? Does that look satisfying? It's like, no. You want to try something like a screen? Maybe no. Maybe an overlay? Perhaps not. What about soft light? Maybe you could try soft light. Maybe soft light works. Right? And that could be like Earth's atmosphere, even though it's, I mean, slightly thinner than that. It's probably like this. Cool. So here's what we do for this as well. That's what it looks like with and without. Cool. It looks like it would work. So when Earth appears, which it does, and it stops, you kind of want now for the atmosphere to start making its appearance. So I'm going to pull this back to where we have the time indicator now. You can hold shift for it to snap. I'm going to play with the size. So I know the size when it's finished is going to be this, but the size when it starts is going to be that. And I can't see because it's invisible. So bam, bam. And of course, we want to do the same thing. You want to have your getting bigger and getting small. So I'm going to make this overshoot again. and this one's gonna be that, and this one's gonna go below that. Bam, bam. Right? And just highlight that, press F9 for it to smooth itself out. And you have that, that, and maybe, just maybe, you could add another one. Duplicate that, and the ending of it is going to be probably just a bit smaller. And I'm going to change the opacity. So I have something like this. Bam, bam. But the last part for the second one, you probably want it to just be smaller to begin with. Just be smaller so you can have that dual atmosphere. Right? And after that's complete, you got your atmosphere done, you have your stars to appear, and then we can move over this thing. Right? So you don't want to lose the person watching it at any point in time. So you keep throwing little stuff at them, but not too much all at once. Because as we say, when it comes to motion graphics, you're dealing with motion design, as in the principles of design, and you're also dealing with the principles of animation. And one of the things about principles of animation, you have something called staging. It's where you make sure that you're leading the audience to look at different places at different times. So if you do everything all at once, it's just be like, what am I supposed to look at? But you can also lead them by what it cause to appear at the beginning and the end. So this is what we have so far now. I'll just play it out. See? That comes out nice. Cool. So what do we need to add now? We need some lines. I'll show you to do like a couple lines. But I'm going to stop the video here, and then so you have now how to create that whole stars and atmosphere thing. And now the last part, so it's going to be like 3 parts, can be the lines. So thank you for watching again, and you can check out part previous of this video in the link. Bye.